You ready? Okay, this is the A part of it. We're going to look underneath our truck for any puddles, any leaks, any hoses, anything hanging. We're looking for the truck leaning to the left or the right. We have 5 lights at the top. 3 middle ones are identification lights. The 2 outer ones are clearance lights. We have high beams, low beams, turn signals, and 4-ways. All them lights have to be properly secure. They can't be cracked, broken, and they're all the proper color of either clear or amber. Over here. Then we have our exhaust. Our exhaust is securely mounted. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not leaking. Black soot would be a sign of a leak. We have our coolant reservoir. Our coolant reservoir is securely mounted. It's not cracked, it's not leaking, and it's between add and full. We have our alternator. Our alternator is securely mounted. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It is belt driven. The belt has no more than a 1/4 inch deflection. It is not cut, torn, or frayed. Our electrical connections are secure and tight. They're not cut, torn, frayed, burnt, or corroded. Then we have our water pump. Our water pump is securely mounted. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It is not leaking. It also is belt driven. The belt has no more than a 1/4 inch deflection. It is not cut, torn, or frayed. Then we have our fuel system. Our fuel system is securely mounted. It's not cracked or leaking. We have our hoses and our clamps. All our hoses cannot be cut, cracked, spliced, or leaking, and all our clamps have to be secure, tight, and not broken. Then we have our oil dipstick. Our oil dipstick, we pull that out, we wipe it clean, we reinsert it, we pull it back out, we check it to see if it's between add and full. If it's at add, we will add 1 gallon of oil and recheck it. Our fill tube, securely mounted, it's well capped, not leaking. Our power steering fluid reservoir, securely mounted, it's not cracked or broken, it's not leaking. It too has to be between add and full. From there we go to our air compressor. Our air compressor is securely mounted. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not leaking. Our air compressor lines are not cut, cracked, spliced, or leaking. Our power steering pump. Our power steering pump is securely mounted. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It is not leaking. From there we go to our steer shaft. Our steer shaft and our universal joints. Our steer shaft is securely mounted. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It has not excessive wear. Our universal joints are securely mounted and they are well greased. Our air compressor and our power steering pump, they're both gear driven. From there we're going to go to our gearbox. Our gearbox is securely mounted. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not leaking. From there we're going to go to our pitman arm, our drag link, our upper and our lower control arm, and our tie rod. All of them are not cracked, bent, or broken. They are all securely mounted. They're secured with castle nuts and cotter pins. All joints are well greased, none excessively worn. From there we're going to go to our shock absorber. Our shock absorber is securely mounted. It's secured top to the frame, bottom to the axle with nuts and bolts and rubber bushings. The rubber bushings are not excessively worn, and the shock is not leaking. From there we're going to go to our leaf spring. Our leaf springs are secured to the front spring hanger, to the rear spring hanger and shackle. None of them can be cracked, bent, or broken. The shackle has to be well greased. Our leaf springs cannot have more than a 1/4 cracked. None broken, none missing, no damage to the mainspring, none shifted or scissored. Then it is also secured to our axle with a saddle and U-bolts. Any sign of looseness would be shiny metal around the saddle and the U-bolts. From there we go to our brake air line. Our brake air line is securely mounted. it is not cut, cracked, spliced, or leaking. Our ABS line, securely mounted, it's not cut, torn, or frayed. Then we go to our brake chamber. Our brake chamber is securely mounted, it is not cracked, dented, or leaking. Coming out of that is a push rod. The push rod is not cracked, bent, or broken. It is secured to the slack adjuster with a clevis, a pin, and a cotter pin. The slack adjuster has to be well greased, is securely mounted, may not travel or move more than 1 inch. To check that, I would chalk my wheels, release my brakes, and pull on it. And we have our brake drum. Our brake drum is round. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It is free of grease, oil, and debris. We have our brake pads or shoes. They are securely mounted. They are not cracked or broken. They are not missing. There has to be no less than a 1/4 inch of braking material. That too has to be free of grease, oil, and debris. If any grease or oil is present, that'll be a sign of an inner seal leak. From there we come to our tire. Tire is evenly worn across the top, same size, same type across the axle. Tread depth on these is no less than 4/32 of an inch. This has to be filled to 100 to 110 psi or manufacturer's recommendation. To check that, I would check this tire cold with a air gauge only. It cannot be recapped, and it cannot have any abrasions, bulges, cuts, or separations. From there we go to our rim. Our rim is round. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It is secured with lug nuts. All of our lug nuts are secure and tight. Any sign of looseness on an aluminum rim would be white powdery residue. Our valve stem is securely mounted. It's a metal cap. It is straight and it is not leaking. From there we go to our hub seal. Our hub seal is securely mounted. It's not missing any nuts or bolts. It is free of grease, oil, and debris. If any grease or oil is present, that'd be a sign of an outer seal leak. This has to have 1 inch of gear lube. To check that, you would use your sight glass. If the sight glass is not present, you would pull that plug and check it with a tool, never your finger. Would you help me check my lights? That concludes A.